Ryan Gillum, WFED 105. Alright, today we're going to be demonstrating how to safely use a circular saw. There's two types of circular saws that a carpenter normally uses. They're a direct drive and a worm drive. But today we're going to be demonstrating how to use the direct drive. The part of the saw that rests on the material that you'll be cutting is called the base. Here's the base. You want to make sure that the base is secured, doesn't have any broken parts or anything on it. And then we want to check the depth and all. The depth on this saw is located at the back, and you can adjust the depth of whatever material you're cutting. Today we're going to be cutting a tube of 6, so we'll need to adjust it accordingly for what we're cutting. We need to adjust the depth to where it's at around 1/4 of an inch, no more than 1/4 of an inch, protruding through the lumber itself. We need to make sure that the teeth of the saw are always facing forward, like this saw is. The blade is on correctly. Then we want to check and make sure that our guard works like it should, so that it doesn't, it's not broken, it's got a spring, that it's not caught or anything of that nature. Then, number 6, we're going to check the bevel, make sure that it works properly. This is the bevel on the front of your base. You can adjust it whatever angle that you might need to be cutting. This saw actually goes all the way to a 50-degree angle. You just lock it down, and you can cut a bevel with it. Number 7, the arbor lock nut bolt is used to secure the blade to the saw's arbor. This one here, it always needs to make sure that it's tight, which it is located here in the center. Just make sure that it's tight, you know, your blade's not loose or anything of that nature. You must always disconnect the saw, like I have here, from the power source before ever making any adjustments or anything to the base or to the front of the saw for your bevel or changing blades or whatever. You want to make sure that it's always unplugged. The teeth should always face the front, like this saw, they're facing the front. So we want to make sure the blade is on correctly. The teeth, always make sure that the blade guard is in position and operates freely, which we've already done, but we'll double check it. Always check your guard. It gets dust, debris, pieces of material, everything in there, and it can make this malfunction. Cross-cutting. Cross-cutting is cutting across the grain, which back here I have a piece of material laid out here to demonstrate for you guys on the grain. As you can tell, the grain, it runs this way. So we're going to be cutting across the grain, which we'll be cutting this way, which that's cutting across the grain. Cutting into unsupported material may cause kickback. So we want to make sure that we always clamp our material down or have someone holding it firmly so that it doesn't move or anything, because we do not want any kickback. Personal protective equipment should be worn at all times when operating the saw. That consists of a hard hat like I have on, safety glasses, and earplugs like I have here. Always keep the saw away from the body. You don't want the saw close to the body, and maintain 2 points of contact with the saw at all times, which that consists of your trigger handle, and then the handle in the front. And make sure that you keep control of the saw, both hands on the saw, until the blade stops turning. Then you can set the saw down or whatever. Never leave an unattended saw plugged in. Always make sure it's unplugged before you walk away to go to the restroom or whatever the case might be. Ripping is cutting with the grain. It's the total opposite of cutting across the grain. So we will be cutting not across the grain, but we'll be ripping it, we'll be cutting with the grain. So we will be cutting it right with the grain, the way the grain runs on the lumber itself. Never use a power tool that has frayed or split electrical ends, which we want to just make sure it's unplugged. And we just want to give it a quick rundown, run your hand across it. You can feel if it's got any cuts or anything like that, it's frayed. Make sure that the plug is in good condition, not bent, broken, or anything of that nature. And we got to make sure that the cord is grounded. This DeWalt saw is actually a double insulated saw, which, as you can tell, it says right here that it's double insulated. It's got the two little squares, one inside of the other, that shows it's double insulated. But you will actually be using a ground fault circuit interrupter at any time on any power tool that you'll be using in this shop or on any material or any power tools that we will be using here. Never cut in between the supports or the sawhorses, rather. We won't ever cut in between these two sawhorses. We always make sure that we cut on the outside of the sawhorses so that it doesn't collapse on itself and cause a kickback. Never force the saw when making a cut that may result in kickback. If the blade's dull, come to me. We will change the blade. I'll get you a new blade when we'll put a new blade on the saw. We don't ever want to use a dull saw because then you're just forcing it. Okay. Now we got to make sure that we're wearing the proper clothing. Nothing loose, anything that's going to get in the way while we're cutting. We don't want anything as we're cutting to be flapping in here and get caught in this blade. Always work in a clean work area. Make sure there's nothing laying around. We want to make sure that we're working in a real good clean area. Housekeeping is number one. We want to make sure that there's nothing that we can trip over and cause us to hurt ourselves with the saw or hurt someone else. Using the correct blade for the particular cutting operation. We want to make sure that we're using this blade here. It is for rip saw cutting. We just want to make sure that it's for rough framing. We want to use the correct blade. There's all different types of blades for whatever material we may be cutting. Check the guard. Make sure it's working properly. As we went over a couple times, but I can't stress enough, just make sure that our guard works free and it works properly. At all times, you must be wearing your personal protective equipment inside the shop while using power tools. Earplugs, safety glasses, hard hats. Just make sure that we are using our PPE when we're in this shop. Never force or cut unsupported lumber. Just make sure that it's either secured with a clamp or we have your partner holding it for you. You should always keep the electrical cord, the cord itself, or the extension cord free out of the way of your cutting line. We don't ever want it to be in the way. You don't ever want to cut your cord off. Never leave an unattended saw plugged in, or any power tool for that matter. Make sure that you unplug it whenever you're not using it. Secure materials to be cut, like we have here. Just make sure that they're secure. You should always keep the saw away from your body and do not set it down until the blade stops turning. Make sure you keep it out in front of you. Just make sure that until the blade stops turning. So, always maintain the proper body balance while cutting materials. Make sure that you're not standing on one foot, you ain't off balance. Make sure that you got a good balance and a good stance while using power tools. Never cut materials in between the supports. Like I said, we just make sure that we cut outside the sawhorses or whatever that we may be cutting off of, whatever's supporting it. And never operate a portable circular saw or any power tool in this shop without being supervised by an instructor. So, now we're going to go on and I'm going to take my tape measure. I'm going to mark a 6-inch. I'm going to mark 6 inches on my 2x6. Then I'm going to take my speed square and square that off. I'm going to get my other clamp. Here, like so. Snug it down real good. Make sure that we get our earplugs put in. And then we want to plug our saw in. Then we can take our saw. Always start the saw outside of the material that you'll be cutting. Start the saw up. Maintain both hands on the saw with your finger off the trigger till the blade completely stops. Then you can pull the saw back, set it down. Always remember to unplug your saw, and we're done. So now we're ready to let some of you guys come over here and we'll try to cut some pieces of 2x6 to get some practice. Thank you.